How fortunate we are indeed to live in the most diverse, dynamic, and beautiful state in the entire nation. Nurturing a sense of empathy, where everyone's progress is valued, the course instills a growth mindset in students, enabling them to achieve more in their learning. The most fundamental questions of how humans came to be the kind of animal we are can only be answered by a theory in which culture has its proper role and in which it is intimately intertwined with other aspects of biology. The author's typical method of trying to get his readers to look at things in a new way is to present them not with a persuasive argument but with a memorable image. In many eyewear boutiques, no two pairs are alike since designers cater to consumer tastes, using a wide variety of unique materials. It is said that under no previous historical system did people live as comfortable a material life or have such a range of alternative life experiences at their disposal as in this present system. The only car available was a red Fiat, an Italian make of car. John Aikman, one of the best basketball players ever, has been suffering a serious injury, and his fans all wish him as speedy a recovery as possible. Technology provides instant gratification, where science occurs through a slow process. In the hustle and bustle of today's world, we have become increasingly used to the speed afforded by technology, such that we become angry if our email takes a few seconds to refresh or if our train is delayed by a few minutes. Taking a do-nothing and a comfort-first approach is common for governments never the end of their term. They avoid starting new projects and avoid making any waves. The power of the president is still valid, but office holders are wary about functioning as spearheads for fear of being negatively marked by the next administration. Persistent American fears of being overshadowed economically by China are not entirely unfounded, since the Asian nation whose seemingly boundless energy appears to promise to sustain its growth hinges upon its ever-expanding domestic market. The fort now known as Fort McHenry was built prior to the War of 1812 to guard Baltimore Harbor. In the 19th century, when photography was still a relatively new art form, pictorialists were photographers who strove to give their photographs, or pictures, a resemblance to paintings. She had no dowry, no hopes, no means of becoming known, appreciated, loved, and married by a man either rich or distinguished. Suggestions run the gamut, from parents signing up young children for organized learning opportunities to simply trusting their instincts and loving their babies. The disappearance of buzzing insects doesn't bring about the kind of emotional response that global warming's threat to polar bears does. But, as the pleasure which I hope to give by the poems now presented to the reader must depend entirely on just notions upon the subject, and, as it is in itself of high importance to our taste and moral feelings, I cannot content myself with these detached remarks. Culture is like a security blanket, and though to some it may appear worn and tattered, outmoded and ridiculous, it has great meaning to its owner. The ability to control the calendar could have provided a source of power for whoever ruled the ancient city. The harbor has tripled in size, though most of its wharves stand empty. You can check out this book provided you return it by tomorrow. We always need to ask ourselves, and reflect very carefully about, what we want and why we want it. Knowledge appears to be a good thing, but too much knowledge, or perhaps pursuing that knowledge with too much determination, may very well make our lives pretty miserable. One reason for this is that chasing knowledge beyond certain limits might be nothing but a fool's errand. We are somehow assuming that we can know everything, that our minds are powerful enough. But why should we assume that? We are ourselves a work of nature, and if nature is powerful enough to create something that is capable of understanding all its workings, then it must also be powerful enough to conceal things from us. There is no guarantee, and in fact it is very unlikely, that we are actually capable of understanding more than a tiny fraction of the universe. The cybernetic revolution has developed more rapidly than many could have foreseen several years ago. All that's really clear is that in digital form, no one's secrets stay secret. In 1. The La Sierra region you'll find the temperate weather, 2. Patterns that give Ecuador, 3. Its status, 4. As the land of eternal spring. 1. The constellation Orion includes, 2. All the stars in the familiar pattern of the hunter, 3. Along with the region of the sky, 4. In which these stars are found. More than 3,001 years ago, North Americans began, 2. To craft day pots, 3. An innovation that accompanied the 4. Appearance of agriculture in the area, 5. East of the continent. It is important to note that cuneiform was the earliest known form of writing. It is as though I, 1. Had the right to call the heel of my shoe, 2. A hammer because I, 3. Like most women, use it, 4. To drive nails into the wall. Anger can mobilize you, 1. To take action, for example, to set, 2, limits to the demands others, 3, make of you, to think about why something, 4, matters to you or to defend yourself at, 5, attacked. 1. Calling ahead of time for reservations, Carla found that the restaurant, 2, called Spitzer's, 3, had gone out of business and called Joan to tell her dinner, 4, was cancelled. Many researchers have strived, 1, toward a theory that is, 2, eclectic enough to encompass all of, 3, their insights in, 4, some form. I, 1, used to work, 2, as a salesman, and I know how important, 3, image is in, 4, any job. Society has the very responsibility to teach the growing generation, 1, what a bad choice it is, 2, to give up one's life, 3, for oneself and how, 4, badly it affects society. Bone is one of, 1, the hardest materials in the body and, although, 2, relatively light in weight, it has a remarkable ability, 3, to resist tension and other forces, 4, acting on it. A lot of data remain mixed on whether daylight saving time does reduce energy consumption to a significant degree. Before a big sale, stores sometimes mail, 1, customers flyers in order, 2, to alert them to savings they can enjoy if they, 3, take the time to visit a branch and, 4, explore the sale items. The explosion of concern, 1, over the condition of the poor nations in the 1950s and 1960s, the increase in assistance and the, 2, associated political debate, and the explicit imperatives of Vietnam, where a policy intended to forestall or contain communism, 3, was under immediate and awful test, all, 4, pointed, and desperately, to the same need.